When I wanted to have a identical data as a group along with a select statement, we are going to use this group by clause. In the name I have a Anusha, here also I have a Anusha. That means the rows values are same here. So that value will going to be returned when we are performing this inner join. If I am creating a table, if I am creating a view, if I am inserting some values to the table, at that time if I wanted to save all those things, then we have to use this commit command. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I welcome you all back to the session 3 on chapter 14, that is SQL commands. I am Rohini TS, lecturer, Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In the previous session of this chapter, we had discussed regarding how we are going to implement the SQL command. So in that I have discussed regarding how to create a table, and also we have learned regarding how to alter a scheme of a table, and also I have discussed regarding drop statement. Then we learned regarding how to insert the records into the table, and also how to select a particular column which may be based on several conditions. For that condition, we are going to use this where clause, and also we have discussed regarding and operator along with a or operator. So what if we wanted to update or modify the content or a tuple of a table, then we have to use a command called update. So what if I wanted to delete all the rows from a table? What if I wanted to delete some of the tuples from a table? Then we have to use this delete command or delete statement. And also we have discussed regarding the order by clause. So in today's session, we will be continuing with this group by statement or a group by function. So we had discussed regarding this distinct, null and not null statement. So in our today's session, we'll deal with a group by statement. So in that we are going to learn what are the built-in group functions that we have in SQL, and then we will see about the joins. Along with that, we will see regarding this how to create a view. For example, you just imagine I have n number of table in my database, but I just want some number of column from this table, and I require some more column from another table. So I just wanted to have my own view. Then we are going to use this view or creating view. Then we'll see about this commit command and then DCL command, that is data control language. And also we'll see about the privileges and rows. At last we'll see about the SQL built-in functions. Let me get into the today's session, that is regarding what? Group by function. So already as we discussed regarding group by, so group by is nothing but what? This class is mainly used in the collaboration with a select statement in order to arrange the identical data into groups. So when I wanted to have a identical data as a group along with a select statement, we are going to use this group by clause. If I wanted to select particular column from my table, then we are going to use this select statement. So in that I'm going to group some of the identical data as a group. So for that purpose, we are going to have this group by. So this group by clause follows the where clause in a select statement and precedes the order by clause. How we are going to use this group by clause? So it will be used with the select statement. So that select statement will going to be followed by this where clause. If I wanted to have some condition, if I wanted to group some identical data into groups based on some condition, then I have to use that where. So after that I will be taking this group by, then I can use this order by clause. So we'll see the syntax here. You can see that select column 1, column 2 up to n number of columns we can take from table name. So here we are taking a columns, we are taking the identical data, we are making that identical data into some groups. So that purpose we are going to select some columns from particular table where. So if I wanted to have any condition, I can get it. For example, if I wanted to select any name which is when their department is equal to computer science, when department is equal to biology, at that time I can give some condition. For that purpose we are going to have this where clause. Then group by column 1, column 2. So based on the if the condition satisfy, then we are going to make that as a identical group. Then I can have a order by, like it can be what? Ascending order or a descending order. So this is how we are going to use this group by clause. First I have to take a select statement, then it needs to be followed by from Then we are going to use where if it is required. So if you don't want it to have any condition, no need to have this where, then that will going to be followed by group by, then that will be preceded by order by clause. This is how we are going to have a syntax of group by clause. So this group by functions or a group functions or a built-in function which will going to operate on a groups of rows and return one value for the entire group. So it will going to operate on number of rows, but at last it will going to return one value as a entire group resultant. Then what are the functions that I have in a group functions? So that includes count, max, minimum, average, sum and distinct. Already we have learned regarding distinct, right? So when it comes to the distinct, it will going to fetch the distinct rows. That means one is unique in nature, so it will not going to have a duplicate data. If I wanted to get that kind of data, or if I wanted to have that kind of distinct rows, then we have to use this distinct function which is of the group function. So that you can see select distinct department from employee. So in this, if I have n number of department, like you just imagine I have a mathematics, biology, physics. So if physics is repeating 5 times, if mathematics is repeating 4 times, so instead of giving all the values in a 4 or 5 times, it will just going to give only one time. It is just giving the resultant as a distinct value from this employee table of a column called department. Next, we'll see about the SQL count. So in this SQL count, why we are going to use this SQL count function? So this function returns the number of rows in a table that satisfies the condition which is specified in the where class. So we are going to use this count function. Count functions are used in order to return the number of rows. So we are, it is going to return the value, that is what it will just return the numeric value. So which will going to be satisfied by where condition. You just imagine one example here, select count star. So what is this star indicates? So we are fetching all the data. Star indicates all. So select count of star from employee. So we are counting all the rows from the employee where department is equal to computer science. So how many rows has a department as a computer science value? All those rows will be counted and that will going to give the count. So we'll see about the SQL max. So this max function will going to used in order to get the maximum value from a column. So for example, if I have this, if I have like this, at that time consider salary, here age and here employee ID 1, 2, 3 and age 25, 23, 28, 25,000. 42,000 and then 48,000. So if I am going to use this, like if I am going to apply this maximum function for single column, at that time it will going to returns the maximum value from that column. So that select max of salary from employee. So if I consider this as an employee table, at that time in the salary column, which is the highest value, that is 48,000, that value will going to be written. If I apply the same thing for minimum, what will be the answer? That is 25,000. So you can see here, this function is used to get the minimum value from a column. It will use to get a minimum value from a column. You can see that select minimum of salary from employee. It will returns the minimum value of that particular column. So next we'll see about the average. So why this average function is used? So if I wanted to calculate average in the sense what? Consider an example here. M1, M2 and M3. So here 10, 20, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So if I am going to apply this average to M1 or M1 column, at that time these two value will going to be added and will going to be divided by 2. So 20 plus 10, then which will going to be divided by 2. So that 30 by 2, it will returns 15. So if I am going to use select average of M1 from marks. Marks is my table name. So at that time it will going to returns the average value from the particular column. For that purpose, we are going to have this average function. So next we have a sum. If I wanted to add or if I wanted to sum up all the values or a numeric value to particular column, then we are going to use this sum function. So that this function is used to get the sum of a numeric column value. So you can see here, select sum of salary from employee. So at that time it will going to add salary of all the employees, then it will going to return one numeric value. That is related to SQL sum. So these are the group functions that we have in a SQL. We'll see the next concept that is related to joins. So before that, you just understand here, consider we have two tables. Okay, so consider this as table 1, consider this as table 2. So now we'll see about the join now. So join class is used to combine records from two or more tables in a database. What if I wanted to combine more number of records or more number of tuples from more than one or two tables? Then we are going to use this join clause. And this join means for combining fields from two tables by using values common to each. So when we are working with this join, we are going to combine the fields of two or more table. We are going to select some of the fields. Fields in the sense what? Column. We are going to select some of the column from two or more table. So that will going to be takes place the common value. That means the common value of both the tables or n number of table that we are taking for join will going to be retained as a result here. Consider we have a two table, one is table 1 and another one is table 2. I will show you how this all the types of join will going to work. What is the types of joins that we have? First one is inner join. So what it will going to return then? It returns the rows when there is a match in both the sides. So it is like an intersection. So like it will going to return the values which is common in both the table. So for example, you have a consider I have a name here, here also I have a name. In the name I have a Anusha, here also I have a Anusha. That means the rows values are same here. So that value will going to be returned when we are performing this inner join. So this it will going to return the rows when there is a match in both the side. Then what about left join? So left join in the sense whether we have some of the matched data in T2 or not. So all the value which is in the left table will going to be shown as a resultant. You consider this as a left table and consider this as a right table. So we'll see about the left join here. It will return all the rows from the left table even if there is no match in the right table. What it will going to return when I'm performing this left join? At the time it will return all the rows in this left table. So whether we have a match of this left table in the right or not. So though it will going to return all the rows in the left table. Just opposite to this we have a right join. It will going to return all the rows from the right table even if there is no match in the left table. So this right table will going to have all the values or it will going to display all the values of a right table, all the rows of a right table even though there is no match in the left table. So we'll see the next type that is related to full join. It is like a union. Okay, it is just opposite to this inner join. Full join in the sense what? It will going to return the rows when there is a match in any one of the table. So whether I have this content in L1 or table 1 or if I have some rows in table 2. So if I wanted to have this full join, so if I am performing this full join at that time it will going to return the rows either it can be in L1 or a table 1 or a table 2. It will be like union. So it will going to give the content of both the table 1 as well as the table 2. We'll see the next type that is self-join. What do you mean by this self-join? Consider you have one table. That table is joining to itself. That means we have two tables now. And I am going to rename one table, any one of the table as a temporary table. That means we are going to give that name for a temporary table. So that here it is used to join a table to itself as it of the table were two tables. For example, you consider we have a table 1 and this table 1 is joining to itself. So I just wanted to name this table 1. So contents are same and table is joining to itself. That kind of join will be termed as what? Self join. And temporarily we are going to renaming at least one table in the SQL statement. So we have two table, one is T1 and another one is also copy of a T1 itself, but I wanted to rename any one of the table for the sake of that needs to be stored in the SQL statement. So that I am going to consider this as a T3. Consider this as a temporary table which is have the same content as of this T1 itself. So next we'll see the last type, that is related to Cartesian join. So it is like a n to n. Okay. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So at that time, so all the rows of this table will going to be joined with all the rows of this table. Again, this 2 will going to be joined with all the values of this table 2 and this 3 will going to be joined with all the values of this table 2 again. That is what Cartesian join. So that it will going to return the Cartesian product of the sets of records from the 2 or more joined tables. So these are the types of joins that we can see in the SQL commands. We'll see the next topic, that is related to creating view. So before getting into regarding this creating view, you just imagine, so in your database you have 5 tables. Consider T1, consider T2 and consider T3 and consider T4 and also I have a T5. Okay. So this T5 has 3 columns and this T4 has 2 columns. This T2 has 3 columns again. This T1 has 4 columns. And then imagine this as only 1 column. So we have 5 tables in my database. At that time, I just wanted to pick this single column from this T3 and I wanted to pick this second column from the T4 and I wanted to pick these 2 from the T5 and I wanted to pick the second column from T2 and I wanted to take the first column from T1. That means how many columns do I require? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So instead of having this all the columns separately, I am going to create one view. So I am going to create one view with 6 columns. So for my sake, for my requirement sake, I am going to select one or more column from each table, or as per my requirement, I am going to select distinct column from different table. Then I am going to group all the columns together. Then I will make one table. So that is what virtual view of a view. It does not physically exist, but we can see the content whatever we have in that particular view. So that is related to what? View. So here database views are created using create view statement. How I am going to create this view? By using create view. So what if I wanted to create a table? Create table. What if I wanted to create a database? Create database. So here we are going to use a keyword called create and we are creating a view. So that views can be created from a single table or a multiple tables or even from another view. So I can fetch all these column and I can take the column of all these T1 and I can make one more view here. That means we can take the values from different tables or a multiple table or even from the views. So we'll see the syntax in order to create this views. So create view. What we are creating here? We are creating a view and I have to give a name for a view, that is view name, and we have to rename it, right? For that purpose we are going to have this alias keyword, that is as. Then I need to select a column. So for example, as I told, I wanted to create a view here. Consider I wanted to create a view called employee view. And I am going to select the first column. I am going to consider this as a TID and I need to select this column from T1, that I have to specify here, that is select column 1 like column 2 and column 3, 4, 5, 6 from I have to specify the name of a table. So it will be like T1, T2, T3, T4 and T5. And if I wanted to have some condition, I can get it. That is what, where within that we are going to give the condition at last semicolon. We'll see one example here. Create view employee view. What is the view name here? Employee view. So employee view is the name of a table. Okay, so as select name comma age. So how many columns it will going to include? Name and age will be the two columns of this employee view virtual table. So from employee, so from the employee, I'm taking only name and age. I'm taking those two columns as the column of my virtual view called employee view. So this is how this creation of view will going to takes place. We'll see the next topic that is related to the commit command. So what if I say control S? Why we are going to use this control S in the Word document? Mainly in order to save, right? So if something goes wrong, if power failure occurs, in order to retain the data and information, we are going to use this control S. Then what if I wanted to store all the transactions which I have made by making use of this SQL commands? Then we have to use this command called commit. So if I'm creating a table, if I'm creating a view, if I'm inserting some values to the table, at that time if I wanted to save all those things, then we have to use this commit command. So that commit command is a transactional command used to save changes which is invoked by a transaction to the database. What are the transactions that we are making? Transaction in the sense what I'm creating, modifying, altering something, and I'm deleting. If I wanted to save all those things in a database, then we have to use this commit command. So it will going to save all the transaction to the database since the last commit or rollback command. So it will going to save up to the last commit command. So what is the syntax? I just wanted to type COMMIT, that is commit command. We'll see the next topic that is related to DCL commands. We learned regarding DML and DDL, that is data manipulation language, data definition language. So now we'll see about this DCL, that is data control language. So this DCLs are used in order to enforce the database security in a multiple user database environment. So if I wanted to ensure such security for my tables in my database, or if I wanted to ensure such security for my database, then we have to use this DCL commands. So that means if you are not giving authorization, nobody will going to fetch the data. If there is no security, then anybody can access the content of a database, then there will be no security. So that in order to enforce the data security or a database security, we are going to have this DCL command. It is of two types here. One is grant and another one is revoke. For example, if you are asking me the pen, if you are saying, ma'am, can I take this pen? If I say yes, that is grant. So if I say no, that is revoke. Or if I am giving that and I am taking it back immediately, that will be considered as what? Revoke. So we'll see about this grant and revoke command here. So grant commands are used in order to provide access or privileges on the database objects to the user. So if the user is getting a permission or getting the access in order to use or in order to access the privileges of a database, then that kind of commands will be considered as what? Grant command. Then what will be the syntax for this grant command? Grant, I'm going to grant some privilege name on the object name, on which object you can make some changes, or what are the operations that you can do. So to whom I'm giving this privilege? To the user, whether they are public, private, and we have to specify their role name with grant option. At last, don't forget to give the semicolon. We'll see about the revoke. So if I am taking all this permission back, then that will be considered as what? Revoke. So this revoke command removes the user access rights or privileges to the database object. So when I'm taking all those privileges back, or when I'm removing all those privileges back from the user in order to access the content of a database, then that command will be considered as what? Revoke command. How we are going to use this revoke then? Revoke privilege name. So what kind of privilege I am taking? From on which object, that is object name, from whom we are taking. So we have to specify the username along with their role. At last, we are going to use the semicolon. This is regarding DCL, that is data control language, or a TCL transaction control language. So next we'll see about the privileges and roles. So here you can see that we need to specify the privilege name. So what kind of privilege, whether they wanted to create or whether they wanted to drop. For example, when I'm saying about the privileges, you have to understand whether it is read only, write only, or execute. Read, write and execute. Okay, so am I giving a permission only to read? Am I giving a permission only to read and write? And if I'm just giving read, write, execute, all the privileges am I giving? That you have to understand here. So that when it comes to the privileges, that defines that the access rights which is provided to the user on the database object. So the access right, whatever we are giving to the user in order to access the objects of a database, that will be considered as what? Privilege. Then there are two types of privileges. One is system privileges and another one is object privileges. So here you can see that we have to specify the name of an object and we have to specify the privilege. So that it is of two types. One is system privilege and another one is object privilege. So then what does the system privilege consist of? So this allows the user, what if I have this system privileges, what are the operations that I can perform, or what are the commands that I can use in my database or in order to access the objects of a database. So we can create, we can alter, or even we can drop the database objects only if they permit or if they grant this system privilege. This will going to be done by the database administrator. Okay, then we have a object privileges. So this allows the users to execute, select, insert, update or delete the data from a database objects to which privilege applies. So if I wanted to have this object privileges, if I have this object privileges, then we can execute, select, we can insert some tuples to the database, I can update it or else I can delete it. So drops comes under system privilege and delete comes under this object privilege. We'll see the last topic. So that is SQL built-in function. So here in this SQL built-in function, no need to write a code for it. So already everything has written, you just can have that function and you can get the benefit out of that particular function which is of built-in. So here also we have two kinds of function. One is single row function and another one is group function. Already we have discussed regarding group function. So when it comes to the single row function, single row or scalar functions will going to return some value for every row that is processed in a query. So it will going to return a value. That means it will return a single value. So for every row that is processed in a query. So for example, select star from employee. So at that time it will going to process all the rows, right? Or it will going to give all the rows. Then that means what? We are dealing with a single row or a scalar function. It will going to return, it will returns a value for every row that is processed in a query. So there are four types of single row functions. That includes, what are the functions that comes under a single row function? It can be related to numeric function, character function or a text function and date function, and then we have a conversion function. This is one numeric function, character or text function, and we have a date function, and also we have a conversion function. If I wanted to convert my uppercase to lowercase, lowercase to uppercase, so that kind of conversion will come under this conversion function. So what about this group function then? So these functions group rows of database on the values which will going to be returned by the query. This will going to group a set of rows, or it will going to have a group of rows of a data which is based on the values which will going to be returned by the query. That means whatever the command that we are giving to the database, based on that it will going to collect, or it will going to have the rows of data that will be grouped. So it will going to give a group of values instead of giving a single value. So if it is single row function, it will give a single value. If you are using this group function, it will going to combine the group rows of data, then it returns a value. So that the group functions are used to calculate the aggregate values that is related to minimum, maximum, average. So those are the group function. I hope you all understood regarding this SQL commands chapter. So we are at the end of the session and end of the chapter itself. Let me meet you in the next session with a new chapter. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.